The following history of giants was written by Joshua T. Whaley. Before the world's great deluge, ancient tales speak of beings whose size and strength defied the imagination, striding across the landscape with steps that made mountains tremble. In the dim epochs before the flood, giants were described as the primordial offspring of gods and mortals, or as the first children of creation, imbued with power and mystery. Their existence is woven into the mythic tapestries of countless cultures, each narrative painting them in hues as grand as their stature. In the tapestry of ancient lore, few figures loom larger, both literally and metaphorically, than the enigmatic Nephilim described in biblical tradition. Their story unfolds in the early chapters of Genesis, where, in a world yet unscathed by the great deluge, beings descended from the heavens. The text recounts, "The sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bore children to them," resulting in the birth of a race known as the Nephilim. These offspring were not merely tall or strong by ordinary standards. They were, according to legend, of truly prodigious stature and might, towering over mortal humans as living monuments to the mingling of the divine and the earthly. Descriptions of the Nephilim are shrouded in both awe and terror. They are referred to as mighty men of old, men of renown, suggesting that their deeds and presence left such an indelible impression on early civilizations that they became legends woven into the very fabric of human memory. Their appearance is said to have been formidable, giants whose shadows stretched across valleys and whose voices could be heard rumbling like thunder. The Nephilim were not just physically imposing. Their strength was matched only by their appetite for dominance and, as some tales claim, for destruction. They were painted as fierce warriors, capable of extraordinary feats, yet also as beings whose unchecked power made them unpredictable and dangerous. Later, apocryphal texts, such as the Book of Enoch, provide a more elaborate and haunting portrait of these colossal beings. According to Enoch, the so-called Watchers, who were the angels tasked with observing humanity, descended to earth, captivated by the beauty of human women. Their union with mortals resulted in the Nephilim, a hybrid race whose existence defied the natural order. The Book of Enoch describes the Nephilim reaching unimaginable heights, some even said to be 300 cubits tall to even 3,000 ells. A being that would dwarf even the tallest mountains known to the ancient world. The land groaned beneath their weight, and their footsteps left lasting impressions in the earth, as if the very world itself struggled to bear them. Before we continue, if you like this video and support what this channel is doing, please click the like button and then subscribe to the channel. Now, back to the story. As their numbers grew, so did their appetites. The Nephilim's immense size required vast sustenance. They devoured crops, livestock and wild beasts until resources grew scarce. When the world's bounty could no longer satisfy their hunger, they are said to have turned to more desperate and grisly measures, preying upon humankind and one another. This descent into violence and chaos struck fear into the hearts of all who dwelled nearby, for the Nephilim's capacity for destruction knew few limits. Their wars and conflicts shook the land, and their insatiable desires threatened to unravel the order and harmony that the gods, or God, had intended for creation. Some traditions suggest that their presence was a key catalyst for the coming of the Great Flood, a divine judgment meant to cleanse the earth of their excesses and restore balance. In these stories, the Nephilim are both a warning and a mystery, beings who stood at the threshold between the mortal and the divine, embodying the dangers of hubris and the consequences of unbridled power. though their bodies may have vanished beneath the waves or crumbled to dust over the millennia, the echo of their passage remains in scattered bones, ancient ruins, and the persistent sense that once giants walked the earth, their legends casting shadows that reach into our own time. But the giants that walked the earth were not solely from biblical tradition. In the oldest tales of Sumer, the mythic landscapes teem with extraordinary beings whose very existence blurred the lines between gods and giants. Preeminent among these were the Anunnaki, a powerful pantheon often envisioned as towering entities whose presence inspired awe and fear. According to Sumerian mythology, the Anunnaki were primordial deities who inhabited both the heavens and the earth, overseeing the fates of humanity and the natural world. It is in these shadowed epochs that the stories of primordial floods and cataclysmic upheavals arise, most famously the deluge decreed by the god Enlil, who sought to cleanse the world of unruly creatures and restore balance to creation. One of the most enduring Sumerian legends, the Epic of Gilgamesh, echoes the memory of these ancient giants. Gilgamesh himself is described as 2/3 divine and 1/3 human, a king whose prodigious height and heroic feats set him apart from ordinary mortals. Together, they journeyed across the world, felling monstrous guardians and seeking the secrets of immortality. Quests that hint at a time when giants, humans, and gods mingled freely in the world. Other accounts speak of the Apkallu, sages or demigods of immense size and wisdom, sometimes depicted with the bodies of fish or birds, who were sent from the divine realm to instruct humanity after creation. In later Babylonian and Assyrian retellings, the memory of these antediluvian giants merged with tales of monstrous beings, hybrid creatures who stood guard at the city gates or dwelled in the wilds beyond the rivers, their bones supposedly buried deep beneath ziggurats and hills. To the ancient peoples of the Fertile Crescent, these stories were not mere fables. They provided a lens through which to understand the mysterious ruins and immense artifacts scattered across the land. Thus, in Sumerian imagination, the giants of myth became central figures in the unfolding drama of the cosmos, bearers of knowledge, bringers of chaos, and living reminders of a world shaped by forces both wondrous and terrifying. Considering the time needed to cover the vast extent of the history of the Anunnaki, we will move on for now and save their epic story for a later video. In the mythic traditions of the ancient Greeks, the notion of giants took on monumental significance, woven into the very foundation of their cosmology and epic storytelling. Among the most renowned of these colossal beings were the Titans, a formidable race born from the primordial deities Uranus, the sky, and Gaia, the earth. The Titans, 12 in all, towered over mortals and lesser gods alike, embodying the raw, untamed forces of nature. The conflict was marked by thunderous battles, the hurling of mountains and the reshaping of landscapes, until the Titans were finally defeated and cast into the abyss of Tartarus, a shadowy prison at the edge of existence. In the wake of the Titans' defeat, the earth was said to have been stained by the struggles of these primeval beings, and from this blood and tumult emerged another race of giants, the Gigantes. The Gigantomachy, their war against the Olympian gods, became a favourite subject of ancient art and literature. Heroes such as Heracles were often depicted aiding the gods in these cosmic wars, and specific tales recount how cunning, courage and divine favour were needed to vanquish the Gigantes, who, according to some traditions, could only be slain with the help of a mortal. Ancient Greeks would point to peculiar rock formations, steep cliffs or bones unearthed from the earth, and declare them the remnants of these ancient struggles, physical proof that giants once warred with the gods and shaped the face of the world. Thus, through the lens of Greek mythology, the giants of old were not simply enormous beings but central characters in a saga of creation, rebellion and transformation. Their stories echo with the grandeur of lost ages, reminding us that in the imagination of humankind, the boundaries between the divine, the monstrous and the mortal world were once as fluid and vast as the giants themselves. Next, in our journey, we travel to ancient Scandinavia. In the tapestry of Norse mythology, giants, known as the Jötnar, occupy a position both fearsome and fascinating, entwined with the fate of gods and the very creation of the cosmos. The lineage of these giants begins with Ymir, the progenitor of all Jötnar, who emerged from the melting ice of Ginnungagap, the yawning primordial void before time itself. The Norse creation myth tells how, after an epic struggle, Odin and his brothers Vili and Ve slew Ymir, and from his enormous body crafted the very world. His flesh became the earth, his blood the oceans, his bones the mountains, and his skull the sky. Even so, many Jötnar survived, fleeing to the wild frontiers of Jotunheim, where they continued to thrive, ever plotting and challenging the gods. Norse legend divides the giants into various types, most notably the frost giants, the Hrimthursar, who personify the deadly cold and the relentless forces of winter, and the fire giants, Eldjotnar, whose realm of Muspelheim blazes with unquenchable heat. Many Aesir, including Odin himself, claimed giant ancestry, blurring the boundaries between divine and monstrous. Many tales tell of gods journeying into Jotunheim on perilous quests, seeking wisdom, treasures, or even brides, all stories that reveal an uneasy kinship and mutual dependence between gods and Jötnar. The giant Hrungnir, for example, was said to be made of stone, his heart hard as rock and his skull invulnerable to all but the mightiest weapons. He fell in battle against Thor, whose hammer Mjolnir remained the god's greatest defense against giant kind. In the Norse worldview, the Jötnar were essential adversaries, embodying not just chaos and danger, but also renewal and change. These fire giants, led by the formidable Surtur, are prophesied to play a pivotal role in Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, when Surtur's fiery sword will set the world ablaze. Through their wildness and might, the Jötnar left an indelible mark on the mythic imagination of the Norse, their legends echoing in the chill winds and rugged landscapes of the north, and their shadow ever looming on the horizon of the world. Even beyond these traditions, the motif of giants permeates much of European folklore, taking root in the myths and legends of various cultures and regions. The ancient Celts, for instance, told tales of the Fomorians, a mysterious race of monstrous beings of immense size and eerie power. Their struggles with the Tuatha De Danann, the tribe of the gods, shaped the rhythm of Celtic myth. Epic battles, shifting alliances, and dramatic contests of wits and might. Among the Fomorians, figures like Balor of the Evil Eye stood out, his gaze said to be so deadly it could fell armies and scorch the earth. Welsh mythology too reverberates with echoes of giants. Bran the Blessed, or Bendigeidfran, was one of the most famous. His prodigious size made him a figure of awe and legend. So vast was Bran that he could wade across rivers, and it was said that no building could contain his towering frame. After his death, his severed head was buried on the White Hill in London, a talisman protecting Britain from invasion so long as it remained undisturbed. These stories, interwoven with the landscapes in which they arose, often link giant figures to particular mountains, standing stones, or earthworks. Legends abound of giants shaping the land, creating causeways, carving valleys, or erecting stones as markers and memorials. Through these narratives, giants become not just antagonists or protectors, but architects of the world itself, their mythic legacy etched into the very bones of the earth and the memory of its people. Travelling back east, we venture to the Indian subcontinent. In the vast tapestry of ancient Indian folklore, the Daityas and Danavas occupy a place of extraordinary significance. They inhabited lavish subterranean realms, often called patala, palatial cities constructed of gleaming gold, gems and enchanted metals, illuminated by their own mystical light. Within these halls, the Daityas and Danavas held courts of astonishing opulence, presided over by monarchs whose wisdom and cunning sometimes rivaled the gods themselves. The ancient Indian epics, the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, are replete with stories of these mighty beings. The Danavas, closely related to the Daityas by blood and destiny, were equally formidable. Famed for their knowledge of ancient rituals, forbidden sciences and cosmic weapons known as astras, they played pivotal roles in the destinies of gods and mortals alike. Their mythic battles are described in vivid detail, the sky darkening with volleys of enchanted arrows, mountains hurled as missiles, and oceans stirred into tempests by their wrath. Yet, despite their immense might, both Daityas and Danavas were bound by the inexorable laws of karma and cosmic justice, a reminder that even the greatest of titans could not escape the cycles of time and consequence. Beyond the Indian subcontinent, the motif of giants resonates powerfully within the tapestry of American indigenous mythologies, where colossal beings are credited with shaping not just the landscape, but also the destinies of entire peoples. Among the Choctaw, for instance, ancient stories paint vivid portraits of the Nahulo, a mysterious race of pale-skinned giants whose origins remain shrouded in legend. The lingering presence of the Nahulo is believed by some to be etched into the very geography of the region. Unusual mounds of earth, ancient stone circles, and other enigmatic structures scattered across the Choctaw territories are sometimes interpreted as remnants of these giants' handiwork. Monuments built by their powerful hands, or burial sites marking their final resting places. In the arid heart of Nevada, amid the sun-bleached mesas and sage-scented winds, there persists a legend as evocative as the landscape itself. A tale of red-headed giants who once stalked the canyons and caves of the Great Basin. Over time, as the two peoples clashed repeatedly, the Paiute began to devise strategies to rid themselves of the giants forever, trapping the red-headed giants in Lovelock Cave and then burning them from the face of the earth. Among the vast oral traditions of the Pacific Northwest, legends of giants continue to shape the spiritual landscape and cultural memory of its peoples. Most prominent among these is the figure of the Sasquatch, or Bigfoot, a colossal reclusive being whose shadow looms large over the misty forests and rugged mountain ranges. According to these traditions, the Sasquatch possesses immense physical strength, and its footprints, often found in deep forest glades or along riverbanks, are said to be as long as a grown man's arm. Encounters with the Sasquatch are often interpreted as moments when the veil between worlds thins, a reminder that the forest is alive with forces beyond human understanding. Beyond the Pacific Northwest, the mythic presence of giants is echoed in the stories of other indigenous peoples across North America. The Hopi, Zuni and other Puebloan cultures of the Southwest preserve ancient tales of monstrous beings, some benevolent, others ferocious, who inhabited the world before the arrival of humans or in its earliest days. Many of these stories are set in a time before time, a mythic era when the boundaries between human and supernatural, land and spirit, were fluid and ever-shifting. The landscape itself is seen as a living record of these encounters. Towering stone pillars, mysterious rock formations, and ancient earthworks are sometimes attributed to the handiwork of giants, each landmark a testament to a forgotten contest or act of creation. Through these richly layered myths, the memory of giants endures, serving not only as explanations for the awe-inspiring features of the land, but also as lessons about the need for humility, respect and balance in the face of forces far greater than ourselves. The giants of North American indigenous lore thus bridge the worlds of the visible and the unseen, the historical and the eternal, inviting each new generation to honor the stories and the land they inhabit. From North America, we now travel south in our quest to uncover the stories of ancient giants. South American myths, particularly those handed down through the oral traditions of Andean cultures, paint a vivid and awe-inspiring picture of the Viracochas, primordial giants whose existence predates the earliest civilizations. These remarkable beings are said to have emerged from the sacred, shimmering waters of Lake Titicaca, a place revered as the cradle of life and the spiritual heart of the Andes. The Viracochas strode across the vast mist-laden highlands, their titanic forms dwarfing even the highest peaks. According to legend, their footsteps were so massive and forceful that each stride carved deep canyons and valleys, while the sweep of their arms could raise mountains or divert the courses of mighty rivers. The landscape itself became a living testament to their power, and many natural wonders, like peculiar rock formations or hidden lakes tucked away in the mountains, are attributed to their creative or destructive acts. Far from being mere brutes, the Viracochas are often depicted as culture bringers and wise teachers. Stories recount how they imparted the secrets of agriculture to the early peoples, teaching them how to harness the fertile soils of the valleys and tame the wild grasses of the high plains. They introduced the ancient arts of weaving and pottery, enabling the development of complex societies whose craftsmanship and architectural prowess would later astonish the world. The Viracochas were also believed to possess celestial knowledge, sharing with select humans the mysteries of the sun, moon and stars, and guiding the construction of sacred temples aligned with the heavens. In some myths, they taught rituals for communicating with the spirits and established codes of law that ensured harmony between mortals and the unseen forces of nature. Yet the giants' relationship with humanity was not always harmonious. Some tales describe how the Viracochas became arrogant and neglectful, their immense strength and wisdom giving rise to pride and excess. They demanded tributes and sometimes punished villages with storms or earthquakes when displeased. The balance of the world was threatened by their unchecked might, leading to chaos and hardship for the mortals who lived in their shadows. Sensing that the world had tilted too far toward disorder, the gods intervened, sending a great deluge, a flood of unimaginable scale intended to cleanse the earth and restore equilibrium. The waters rose and engulfed the land, washing away the giants and many of the cities they had helped build. Some legends say that a handful of Viracochas survived, retreating to hidden places or transforming themselves into stone figures that still watch over the valleys, silent witnesses to a bygone age. The legacy of the Viracochas endures in the traditions, art and monuments of Andean cultures. Ancient terraces carved into mountainsides, monumental stone walls and enigmatic carvings are often said to be the handiwork of these giants or to mark their former presence. Ritual songs and festivals still echo their names, celebrating both their gifts and their warnings. The Andean people see in the Jötnar not only the origins of their civilization, but also a reminder of the delicate balance between creation and destruction, humility and hubris. These stories continue to inspire reverence and curiosity, inviting each new generation to ponder the mysteries of the giants, their immense powers, and the lessons they left behind in stone, earth, and memory. But what exactly do I mean when I say bones in the earth? At the turn of the 20th century, reports began to surface from remote valleys, riverbanks, and ancient burial mounds across North America. Astonishing accounts of the unearthing of enormous human skeletons, remnants that seemed to echo the mythic age of giants. Farmers ploughing their fields in the heartlands of the Midwest would occasionally strike something unyielding beneath the soil, only to discover the massive femur or skull of a figure far larger than any known human. In the humid shadows of Appalachian caves, local explorers and amateur archaeologists stumbled across burial sites where vertebrae as thick as a person's wrist and jawbones, wide enough to fit over a modern man's face, lay half buried in centuries-old silt. Along the Mississippi River and in the rolling earthworks of the Ohio Valley, teams excavating ancient mounds, often attributed to long-lost indigenous civilizations, recovered complete skeletons measuring over 7, 8 or even 9 feet in length. These skeletons, with their elongated limb bones and robust outsized joints, were sometimes found interred with ceremonial objects. Copper bracelets, intricately carved pipes, or stone tools of unusual size, as though fashioned for hands twice the breadth of those living today. In northern New York and throughout the Great Lakes region, newspapers of the era, including the New York Times itself, described excavations where skulls with double rows of teeth and towering frames were unearthed, their massive crania hinting at intellects as formidable as their strength. Some remains were sent to local museums or universities for study, while others vanished into private collections or were quietly reburied, their existence becoming the fodder for whispered legends and sensational articles. In the arid southwest, amidst the sun-baked ruins of cliff dwellings and pueblos, explorers claim to have found skeletons nearly 10 feet tall, sometimes in communal graves alongside more conventionally sized humans. The discovery of such bones, often brittle with age and riddled with mineral deposits, blurred the line between history and myth, giving substance to the tales told by indigenous peoples of ancient titans who shaped the land. Each region had its own stories, its own sites of wonder, the cavernous burial chambers of the Ozarks, the shell mounds of Florida, and the remote bluffs of California. In every place the bones, massive ribs, enormous scapula, and finger bones the length of carving knives, seem to confirm that long before written records, the continent was indeed the stage for beings of prodigious stature. These discoveries, often chronicled in local gazettes and archaeological reports, sparked both fascination and controversy. Scientists debated whether the finds were proof of an unknown race, cases of pathological gigantism, or simply errors of observation compounded by excitement. Yet for those who stood in the presence of these ancient remains, there was little doubt. The bones in the earth were silent testimony to a forgotten age when giants walked North America, their legacy entwined with the land itself, waiting for each new generation to unearth their story beneath the plough and the spade. But what became of these astonishing bones? Here the story takes a shadowy turn. Whispers and rumours have long swirled around one of America's most storied institutions, the Smithsonian. According to countless reports and conspiracy theories, crates filled with giant bones were quietly shipped to the Smithsonian's vast warehouses, never to be seen again. Some say entire shipments vanished into the labyrinthine archives, hidden in basements and storage rooms, far from public view. Old newspaper clippings hint at these disappearances, and stories persist of researchers and local collectors receiving stern letters or sudden visits from government agents urging them to turn over their finds. Inside dusty museum storerooms and behind locked doors, the fate of North America's giants remains clouded in secrecy. Were these remains lost to bureaucratic oversight, destroyed to fit a convenient narrative, or simply misidentified and forgotten? Or is the truth even stranger? As you watch shadowy figures wheel away ancient crates under dramatic lighting and scan the headlines of yellowed newsprint, ask yourself, what else lies hidden just out of sight? The story of giants is not just about bones in the earth, but about the mysteries we choose to remember or to forget. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. And if you would truly like to support the author Joshua, or wish to learn more about humanity's hidden history, you can purchase your copy of Forbidden Genesis, the untold story of man today. The link is in the description box below. Thank you so much for your time. Through myth, mystery, and the monumental. Until next time, keep searching. Because sometimes the biggest stories are the ones just beneath our feet.